Perfection had a name. Glory had a face. He was the favorite, the most beautiful, the most powerful. He held the universe in the palm of his hand and threw it all away for a single forbidden desire. What happens when the angel who guards the throne decides to steal the throne? In this film, you will not just hear the story, you will witness the war. The exact moment heaven was split in two. The clash between Michael's loyalty and the dragon's fury. The violent fall that turned angels of light into the monsters that now hunt us in the darkness. Forget fairy tales. The truth is far more terrifying. Why does evil exist? How did a perfect angel become the devil? And what is his secret plan for you? Prepare yourself from the pinnacle of glory to the depths of the abyss. This is the true story of Lucifer. Close your eyes. Forget the world you know. Forget the weight of gravity, the noise of cities, the breaking news, and the relentless ticking of the clock. I need you to travel backward, not just a few centuries or millennia to the age of pyramids or dinosaurs. I want you to go further. Before time was a measurement, before space had depth, before the first atom vibrated in the darkness, we are entering the territory of eternal silence. The human mind, limited by 3 dimensions, tries to imagine the beginning as a dark, cold void. But we are wrong. Before the creation of the physical universe, there was no nothing. There was everything. There was a presence, an infinite consciousness, heavy, absolute, and self-existent. God, the great I Am. He was not alone in solitude, for within the complexity of his own nature, there existed a perfect dialogue of love and glory. But love, in its purest essence, is creative. Love is expansive. Love cannot be contained. It must overflow. And it was in that overflow that the silence of eternity was broken. Not with an explosion of chaos, but with an order of supreme architecture. God began to build his dwelling. The ancient scriptures call it the heaven of heavens,
has passed.
the third heaven.
Look upon the
Do
true
not think
heavens.
of white, fluffy clouds. That is a childish image. The reality described by the prophets who glimpsed this dimension, men like Ezekiel, Daniel, and John, is terrifying in its majesty. They describe a place where physics operates differently, a realm made of solid light. Imagine a city where the ground is not asphalt or earth, but a sea of glass mingled with fire. A translucent, living substance that pulses with the energy of the throne. The color there are not merely visual wavelengths. They have sound, they have temperature. The emerald green that surrounds the throne vibrates with indestructible life. The air is not oxygen. The air is glory. To breathe in that place is to feel electric power surge through every fiber of your being, erasing the very concept of fatigue or death. And at the center of everything, the throne, an epicenter of governing authority. From it come flashes of lightning and peals of thunder, not as weather, but as manifestations of pure power. And to inhabit this dimension of fire and holiness, God brought into existence the first civilization, the heavenly hosts. God breathed, and in an instant, myriads of beings of light awakened. The angels, Malach, messengers, beings of superior intelligence, incalculable strength, and deep emotion. God created military and liturgical hierarchies. The seraphim, the burning ones, made of liquid fire, consumed with passion for divine holiness, covering their faces before the infinite. The Ophanim, living wheels covered in eyes, spinning in impossible geometries, guardians of all-seeing presence. The archangels, warrior princes bearing swords of light. Heaven became a metropolis of worship. Billions of voices, a perfect cosmic orchestra. There was no doubt, there was no fear, there was no lie. Trust flowed from the Creator to the creation and returned as praise. It was the circle of love. But God, the great artist, desired a masterpiece. There was a place at the pinnacle of angelic creation. God wanted someone who would not be merely a servant, but a reflection. Someone who could stand closer to him than any other. Someone who would serve as the seal of perfection. And then he was born. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 28, gives us the autopsy report of his creation. It is the most detailed description of the aesthetics of a spiritual being in all of Scripture. God did not use flesh. God used light and precious stones. The text says, "You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty." Imagine that. He was the standard, the ruler by which beauty was measured. God clothed him, or rather, constituted his very skin, with living precious stones. Sardius, red as blood. Topaz, golden as the sun. Diamond, the hardest and purest structure in the universe, capable of refracting divine light into billions of directions. Turquoise, onyx, jasper. Sapphire, blue as the deep abyss, ruby and emerald. He was a living prism, a walking cathedral of light. When he walked the streets of transparent gold in heaven or approached the fire of the throne, God's light struck him and exploded into a spectacle of colors beyond human imagination. He did not produce the light, but he reflected it better than any other creature. His name reflected his essence. In Hebrew, Hallel ben Shahar, the shining one, the son of the dawn, the morning star. In Latin languages, Lucifer, the light bearer. But visual beauty was only half of his glory. There was also sound. Scripture reveals a fascinating technical detail. The workmanship of your timbrels and pipes was prepared in you on the day you were created. Understand this depth. He did not carry a harp. He did not hold a flute. He was the instrument. His body was designed with resonance chambers, vocal cords, and divine wind structures. He was a living organ. When he breathed, perfect harmonies filled the air. When he spoke, it was melody. When he moved, the rhythm of the universe pulsed. He was designed to be the maestro of heaven. His role was to conduct the worship of all other angels. He received the revelation of God's glory, processed it through his beauty, and returned it as music. He was the bridge between the finite and the infinite. He received the title Anointed Guardian Cherub. This meant total access. He walked among the fiery stones. He was permitted to enter the zone of maximum radiation of God's presence, where others would be disintegrated. He was the confidant, the guardian of holiness, the prince of heaven. For eons, countless ages of time, everything functioned perfectly. The universe was a symphony without a single dissonant note. Lucifer was loved.
The cosmos responds to the Father's design,
for in him
and
they
so
saw the clearest
do our
reflection
hearts.
of the Father. He was wise. He understood the physics of galaxies and the mysteries of theology. So then, how does evil emerge in a sterile place? How does darkness arise in the midst of absolute light? There was no devil to tempt the devil. Evil did not come from outside. Evil was manufactured. Evil was a solitary invention. The mystery of iniquity begins with a dangerous gift: freedom. God does not create robots. God creates sons. And for love to be real, the option not to love must exist. The door of rebellion always existed, but it was locked by gratitude. No one ever thought to open it. Why would anyone trade everything for nothing? The tragedy did not begin with an action, but with a look. Lucifer, in a fateful moment, turned his gaze away from the throne and looked into the mirror. He saw the shine of the stones on his chest. He heard the majesty of his own voice. He saw how millions of angels looked at him. And for the first time, he did not transfer the glory. He retained it. A subtle thought, like invisible smoke, rose. In his brilliant mind, I am magnificent. The distinction between what I have and what I am began to blur. He forgot that he was the moon, shining only because of the sun, and began to believe he had light of his own. Vanity is a powerful narcotic. Lucifer began to intoxicate himself with himself. He began to question God's justice. Why should he hold all supremacy? I do all the conducting. I am just as beautiful, just as wise. Why is there this distance between his throne and my position? Silence was born in the heart of the morning star. While his lips still sang praises, his mind was calculating. He began to feel that heaven owed him something. He no longer desired intimacy, but authority. Corruption was not physical at first. His face remained beautiful. His voice remained sweet. But inside, in the secret corridors of his soul, the cherub was dying and the dragon was being born.
Offer a new path,
he did not keep this to himself.
From the old constraints.
Pride demands an audience.
Hear me.
The
time has come to see with new eyes.
Campaign in history.
Yes.
He began to whisper.
And
imagine him
God
walking among the lesser angels with a benevolent smile. God is just, of course, he would say, letting the sentence hang. But don't you think the rules are a bit restrictive? We are beings of immense light. Why must we serve forever?
Create.
Imagine what we could
Imagine
create
a future
if we had
unrestrained
autonomy.
by celestial
Cities of
decrees.
impossible
He sold the idea
design.
of freedom.
I offer you
the
autonomy,
price was
the infinite
betrayal.
canvas of
He
creation.
used
The
his
Father
influence,
asks too much.
his beauty,
But
And what else
and
is
his
there?
wisdom.
there is freedom,
to sow
brother.
doubt.
You just have to listen.
And doubt spread like cancer through the heavenly ranks. One angel listened, then another, then a legion. He promised thrones. He promised a kingdom where they would be gods. And then madness reached its peak. Lucifer looked toward the top of the holy mountain and formulated the 5 declarations of his fall. The 5 statements that sealed his destiny, recorded in Isaiah 14. I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of the congregation. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Notice the key word, like. He wanted God's rank. At that moment, the harmony of the universe shattered. A terrible sound, a spiritual tearing, echoed. Lucifer stopped singing. He turned his back on the Father. And behind him, 1/3 of the stars of heaven, millions of seduced angels, also turned their backs. Peace ended. The age of innocence was over. Heaven, which had never seen a weapon raised, was about to become the stage for the most violent battle of all ages. Heaven stood still. That atmosphere of love and trust, which had lasted for ages, evaporated like mist. For the first time in eternity, a line was drawn on the crystal ground. On one side, the throne of God, surrounded by the faithful majority, shaken, yet silent. On the other, Lucifer, shining with a light that now seemed cold and arrogant, surrounded by 1/3 of the heavenly hosts. There was no diplomatic negotiation. God is love, yes, but God is holy, and holiness functions like a consuming fire. It does not allow impurity to survive in its presence. Rebellion could not coexist with glory. But God, in his mysterious sovereignty, did not snap his fingers to make Lucifer disappear. He could have, But he does not rule by tyranny, he rules by justice. The universe needed to see and understand
Keep it together.
that
Don't
Lucifer's
lose
path
control.
led to destruction.
No.
So God delegated the battle. He did not rise
The
from the
line
throne.
is broken. We must
Omnipotence
retreat
does
to the
not
rear,
rise to fight a
quickly.
creature. When an angel is fought, it is another angel who fights. From among the faithful, an archangel emerged. He was not the most beautiful. He was not adorned with jewels. But he possessed something Lucifer had thrown away: fierce loyalty. His name was a direct challenge to Lucifer's arrogance. The rebel had declared, "I will be like the Most High." The archangel answered with his own name as a battle cry: Michael, Michael, which means, who is like God? A devastating rhetorical question. The answer is, no one. Revelation 12 describes the cataclysm with chilling brevity. There was war in heaven. Try to visualize this not as men clashing iron swords. That is far too small. Imagine a war of frequencies, a war of realities. Lucifer and his angels attacked with lies, with distortions of reality, with waves of spiritual darkness. They tried to extinguish the light. Michael and his angels counterattacked with truth. The collision was devastating. The universe trembled. Distant planets may have been knocked out of orbit by the impact of that dimensional clash. But the battle revealed an uncompromising physical truth. Evil is a parasite. Lucifer was fighting against the very source of his own energy. The more he fought, the weaker he became. He was unplugged from the power source. His light began to fail. His wisdom turned into madness. His angels began to panic. Their resistance collapsed. The sacred text says, "But they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them any longer in heaven." The eviction. The order of expulsion was issued. Jesus Christ, the eternal witness, described the scene millennia later. "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." Imagine the physics of that fall. They were hurled out of the dimension of eternity. They tore through the veil of space-time. And as they fell, the transformation occurred. This is where the horror film begins. Lucifer's beauty was a reflection of God's glory. Without the glory, the beauty decayed. Those precious stones turned to ashes. Harmonious music became noise and screams. Wisdom corrupted into cunning. They did not lose power, but they lost their nature. They ceased to be angels of light and became demons. Where did they fall? They collided with the primordial earth. The impact of the fall struck this planet like a spiritual nuclear cataclysm. The earth became formless and void, chaos. The planet became the maximum security prison of the fallen angels. Lucifer rose amid the ruins of the darkened earth, no longer as the morning star. Now he was Ha-Satan, the adversary. He looked up at the blackened heavens. He knew the gates were locked. The pain of loss must have been unbearable. But instead of seeking forgiveness, he felt something new: revenge. He waited for ages in that darkness, until something happened. The Spirit of God began to move over the surface of the waters. A voice thundered, "Let there be light!" Satan watched hidden in the crevices as God reformed the prison. He saw vegetation sprout. He saw life return. He was confused. Why is God decorating my cell? But the final blow came on the 6th day. God took the dust of the earth, dirty matter, clay, and with his own hands, he shaped a small, fragile form. Then God leaned down and breathed into that clay's nostrils the Ruach, the breath of divine life itself. Man opened his eyes, and when Lucifer looked at Adam, he saw his worst nightmare. Adam had no wings, but Adam possessed something Lucifer had lost forever: the image and likeness of God. God placed the crown on Adam's head. Have dominion over the earth. The planet Lucifer, believed to be his private kingdom, was given as a gift to that creature of clay. Satan's hatred reached a boiling point. Envy burned hotter than hell itself. He declared his second war. I cannot wound God. He is untouchable. But I can wound his children. I will break God's new toy. I will make Adam rebel. Because if man sins, God's justice will be forced to cast him out as well. He would not use force. He would use strategy. He entered the Garden of Eden. The target was not Adam's body. The target was Eve's mind. The serpent approached, silent, subtle. And the first question in human history was asked, a question designed to plant doubt. Did God really say? Did God really say? The question hung in the air of paradise. It was a small sound, almost insignificant. But that whisper was the trigger for the greatest spiritual catastrophe in existence. Notice the enemy's surgical precision. He did not attack Eve with claws or fire. He attacked her with an idea. He did not offer just a piece of fruit, he offered a throne. On the day you eat, you will be like God. It was the same bait that had ensnared him in heaven, the promise of autonomy, the illusion that the creature can exist without the source. Eve looked. The desire to be more spoke louder than gratitude for the everything she already had. She ate, and she gave it to Adam. In that microsecond, the backbone of the universe snapped. There were no immediate thunderclaps. There was something worse, silence. The Shekinah, the living light that clothed the couple like a royal mantle, vanished instantly. The spiritual connection was severed. Suddenly, the air grew cold. They looked at one another and saw only naked, vulnerable flesh. Fear, an emotion that had never existed in the human vocabulary, flooded their hearts. They ran into the shadows. Lucifer, watching from the darkness, must have smiled. The strike was perfect. By spiritual law, whom you obey becomes your master. By obeying the serpent, Adam and Eve handed over the title, Deed of the Earth. In that moment, Lucifer carried out the greatest expropriation in history. He became, legally, the prince of this world. Planet Earth was now a rebel province, ruled by an invisible tyrant. But hell's celebration was premature. God descended into the garden, not to strike them down, but to judge. And in the midst of the sentence, he turned to the serpent and spoke the words that have haunted the devil for 6 millennia. Genesis 3:15, the proto-gospel. I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Lucifer's smile vanished. He understood the message. God was saying, you stole humanity, but I will redeem it. From a human woman will be born a warrior, and he will crush your head. At that moment, Satan's mission changed. He no longer wanted merely to rule. He needed to survive. And to survive, he had to prevent that child from being born. The War of the Seeds began. The Bible ceases to be merely a religious book and becomes the record of a relentless hunt. First strike, Cain and Abel. Satan whispered hatred into the older brother's ear. Kill him. Cut off the line of the righteous. Abel's blood soaked the ground. Satan thought he had won. But God raised up Seth. The lineage continued. Check. Then the enemy tried something more grotesque, genetic warfare. In Genesis 6, we read that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, fallen angels, transgressing the laws of nature, materialized and took women. The goal was not pleasure, it was hybridization. They created the Nephilim, giants, genetic abominations with no redeemable soul. Satan wanted to corrupt human DNA so completely that the Messiah could not be born as a perfect man. He wanted to turn humanity into a zoo of monsters. The earth was filled with violence. The plan was nearly complete. But God answered with the flood, a global cleansing to preserve human genetics through a single pure family, Noah. The waters receded, humanity restarted, and the war continued. Satan changed tactics. If I cannot destroy the genetics, I will enslave the mind through worship. Empires were born: Babylon, Egypt, Assyria, Persia, Greece, Rome. Satan divided the world among his demonic generals. He created the mystery religions. When the Egyptians worshipped Ram, when the Canaanites burned babies to Moloch, when the Greeks bowed to Zeus, who was behind the masks? The Apostle Paul was clear. The things the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to demons. Lucifer finally achieved what his vanity desired: to be worshipped as God. He built a spiritual matrix, keeping humanity busy with wars, idols, and fear of death. But running beneath that radar of darkness was a golden thread: the lineage of Abraham. The people of Israel were not chosen because they were better. They were chosen to be the aircraft carrier from which the Messiah would take off. That is why the irrational hatred of the Jews runs throughout history. Anti-Semitism is not sociological, it is demonic. It is Satan trying to destroy the vehicle of God's coming. Pharaoh tried to kill the babies in the Nile. Haman attempted genocide in Persia. Antiochus tried to erase the faith. Herod tried to murder the children of Bethlehem. It was always the same dragon, trying to devour the child. Centuries passed, 400 years of prophetic silence. The world groaned under the iron boot of Rome. Hope seemed dead. Satan was confident. Heaven appeared to have given up. But the enemy forgot that God works in silence. While hell celebrated total domination, in a small dusty village called Nazareth, the archangel Gabriel broke through the dimensional barrier, not to a king, but to a virgin. The Holy Spirit will come upon you. The alarm sounded in hell. The invasion began. God did not send an army of warrior angels. That would have destroyed the earth. God used the tactic of infiltration. The Creator became a creature. The infinite became an embryo. Jesus was born. Satan tried to kill him in the cradle. He failed. He waited 30 years, until the day Jesus stepped into the waters of the Jordan and the Father thundered, "This is my beloved Son." The identity was revealed. The final duel began. Satan met Jesus in the wilderness, weak, hungry. He offered the shortcut. "All this I will give you if you fall down and worship me." He offered Jesus the crown without the cross. But Jesus refused the bribe. He came to take the kingdom back, not to rent it. Lucifer, enraged, decided to use his final weapon: death. "If I kill thee, heir, the vineyard will be mine forever." He moved his pieces: the Pharisees, Judas, Pilate, the enraged crowd. The enemy orchestrated the crucifixion. He wanted to humiliate the Son of God. When the nails tore through Christ's flesh, when darkness covered Calvary, when Jesus cried out, "It is finished," and breathed his last, hell erupted in a celebration. The demons rejoiced. Satan thought he had won. The Messiah was dead. The cold body lay in the tomb, sealed with Rome stone. But they made a fatal mistake, the mistake born of arrogance. They did not know that the cross was not a defeat. The cross was an altar. They did not know that Jesus did not have his life taken. he gave it. They did not know that that innocent blood was the currency that paid humanity's debt. The law of sin and death, which gave Satan legal rights over us, was canceled on that tree. And then, Saturday came. The world saw a silent tomb, but the spiritual world saw an earthquake. While Jesus' body slept, Jesus' spirit was on a mission. He descended, not to suffer in hell, but to invade it. Imagine the terror of the demons when the gates of Hades began to shake. Someone was knocking on the door. And it was not a prisoner. Someone was knocking at the door of the abyss. And the knock was not the plea of a prisoner. It was the summons of a conqueror. Psalm 24, written millennia earlier, prophetically captured the sound of that moment with cinematic precision. In the dark regions where light had never entered, a thunderous voice shook the structures of death. Lift up your heads, O gates, that the King of glory may come in. The guardians of darkness, paralyzed by an unprecedented terror, asked, "Who is this King of glory?" And the answer came like a shockwave: the Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. Understand the scene. Jesus did not descend into hell to be tortured. That is a misconception. He descended like a special forces general storming the bunker of a defeated enemy. Lucifer, the former cherub, watched helplessly. He saw the soul of that carpenter shine with the same glory that had once expelled him from heaven. Jesus walked up to the throne of darkness. No fight, no debate. The Bible says in Colossians that he disarmed the principalities and powers and made a public spectacle of them. Imagine the humiliation. Satan, who had held the keys of death and Hades as trophies stolen from Adam, watched as Jesus took those keys from his hand. The legality was over. The contract that bound humanity was torn up. The debt was paid. And then Sunday arrived. While Jerusalem still slept beneath the mist of dawn, the earth convulsed violently. Inside the cold tomb, the heart that had stopped received a surge of indestructible life. The stone, weighing tons, rolled away. Not to let Jesus out, he was already in a glorified body that passes through matter. The stone was rolled away so that we could look inside and see the emptiness. When Christ came out of the tomb, the head of the serpent was crushed. The prophecy of Eden was fulfilled. Lucifer's absolute dominion over the human race ended. But here arises the question that must be screaming in your mind right now. An honest question. If Satan was defeated 2,000 years ago, why does the world still look like hell? Why do pain, war, and evil seem stronger than ever? The answer lies in military strategy. Think of World War II. D-Day decreed the inevitable defeat of the Nazis. The war was decided there. But the final surrender, V-Day, only happened months later. We are living exactly in that interval. The D-Day was the cross. The V-Day will be the return of Jesus. Satan knows he has lost. He is not an atheist. He knows the Bible is true. And that is precisely why he is so dangerous now. An enemy who fights for victory can negotiate. But an enemy who knows he will be destroyed fights only out of hatred. He has adopted the scorched earth tactic. He thinks, if I am going to the lake of fire, I will not go alone. Revelation 12:12 is the diagnosis of our time. Woe to those who dwell on the earth, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time. Look at modern society. Do you see his fingerprints? He has changed tactics. He no longer needs stone idols. Today, he uses distraction. He wants to keep you so busy, so anxious, so addicted to screens and social approval that you never have a single moment of silence to hear God. He attacks your identity. He whispers that you have no value, that you are an accident, that your mistakes define who you are. He is the accuser, but above all, he is a liar. However, this chaos has an expiration date. History is not an infinite cycle. It is a straight line drawn by God. There will be a final act. Heaven will open. We will no longer see the humble carpenter. We will see the King of Kings, faithful and true, riding on a white horse, with eyes like flames of fire and a robe dipped in blood. Lucifer will attempt his final move, Armageddon, the insane attempt to fight the Creator. But there will be no prolonged battle like in the movies. The Bible says the Lord will destroy him with the breath of his mouth. Just one word, and it is over. And then we will see the final destiny of the one who was once the morning star. He will not reign in hell. Hell is not the devil's palace. It is his prison. Lucifer will be cast into the lake of fire, the place of eternal isolation, the cosmic landfill where evil is discarded so it can never again contaminate creation. No glory, no light, no audience, only eternal oblivion and the memory of what he could have been. But what about you? This film is not only about the past, it is about your future. The story of Lucifer is an eternal warning. Pride turns angels into demons. But the story of Jesus is an eternal invitation. Humility turns sinners into sons. At this very moment, there is an invisible war for your soul. Lucifer hates you because you have the chance he wasted, redemption. But the throne is occupied. The war has been won. The keys have been recovered. You do not need to live in fear. The invitation has been issued. The prison door is open. The morning star fell, but the bright morning star, Jesus Christ, shines forever when he calls your name. Which side of history will you be on?